Welcome. And I wish that you would tell us all about you and tell us, Danielle Saioni, the name of your company, and give us a little bit of introduction to you.
Sure. Who is Daniela Saioni? Is a very big question because I probably like you, definitely like you, am a multi-potentialite. So Daniela Saioni is many things. I am a veteran script supervisor in the film industry. I've been script supervising film and television for about 33 years now. I coach script supervisors. I coach directors and screenwriters. I'm also a screenwriter. I've won about 12 laurels so far. I'm a member of the Writers Guild of Canada. I've never been produced outside of stuff that I've produced myself, but I've had many students, sell shows and start careers in my screenwriting program. So that makes me happy enough for sure. I still think one day I'll probably, hopefully, get produced. What else about Daniela? Oh
Well,
my
I
God,
just
I
wanted to
think.
say that before we won, that the whole show is about uplifting people. And I have to
Oh,
say to the audience here at Trent University, all the students and everybody in Peterborough and beyond, that Daniela Seone has uplifted Mary McGillis. I tell you, I've
oh,
been a student of Danielle's for a couple of years now, and I can't say enough good things about you, Daniela, and your
oh.
courses. So I know you've done so many things in your life, and people would love to hear about, your stories about the movies you've worked on and everything. And it will be inspiring, though, to people that know other film people that I've done your courses with, have gone to film school, and they say they've learned more from your courses than they did the entire time at film school. So do you want to start with a little bit about what movies you've done that people might recognize, just to give them that, and then about, why you think they would learn so much from your courses?
Sure. Thank you for that. Oh, thank you so much for that, by the way. That's a wonderful compliment. Um, I I've worked on My Big Fat Greek Wedding, the original one, because I'm older than I look. I worked on I'm going to tell you my favorite credits, and then maybe I can tell you my not so favorite credits. I worked on the first four seasons of Suits, which I'm very proud of. I worked on the last four seasons of Soul Food, the series, which I'm also very proud of. I worked on Shazam. I worked on a movie that people might not be as familiar with called Traitor, starring Don Cheadle. I love that movie because Steve Martin came up with the idea, and I am a huge fan of his, and I was hoping he'd come to set, but he never did. And my favorite director of all time, one of my favorite humans, is Paul Feig, and I've been blessed enough to do two movies with him, and I think they're two of his best. He thinks they might be two of his best as well, although he loves Spy and the Heat as well, and Bridesmaids. I worked on A Simple Favor and A Simple Favor 2, and I can't wait for you guys to see A Simple Favor 2 because we shot it in Rome and Capri, and oh my God, or Capri, I guess. So good. Wait till you see Allison Janney in it. You're gonna die.
Well, that's a good time to
Um,
say too that all over the world people know Daniela Seone. You work out of London, Rome there, but also LA, New York, all over, right? And you have
Oh,
students
oh
from
yes.
all
Let,
over the
let,
world.
me- let me talk about that. I started, I mean, I've been teaching since 1995, but I started an online course business in 2020, and it has actually changed my life. All my life, I have taught things so that I could learn them better. I'm a weirdo that way. I started teaching script supervision when I was only 3.5 years into my career. And I started training, I've been training directors forever, and I've only directed a couple of movies. I'm not a director, but I just worked with over 200 of them. So I feel like I can really get into their brains and help coach them. And I mean, I was writing a fair amount of years before I started teaching screenwriting. But when I started teaching screenwriting and I saw the successes of my students, I saw that what I was coming up with actually worked. I got really excited and I started to write better myself. And yeah, it's happening all over again because I'm training entrepreneurs how to use social media, and my YouTube channel's just starting to explode. So I'm really excited because I realized what I was teaching them. I was like, oh, I'm teaching them how to optimize their YouTube channel. So I did it like while I was teaching them, and then suddenly like it's working. So, but my company is called Director Whisperer Inc. Another inside joke, because if you don't know what a script supervisor does from the outside looking in, people used to say to me on set, "What are you whispering in the director's ear all day about?" And so, and the focus, and my main, like I have so many courses, but the script supervision program is really all about how I train script supervisors to become a valued member of the director's team, so that that the director is fighting for them to come back, on every show and advancing their careers. So Director Whisper Inc. So you can actually on my link tree is a link tree slash director whisperer. So there's you can find me so many ways.
And there is so much information, and the link tree is actually a great way for people to get in touch with you. So back to then the whatever you want to speak about, what you think might entice somebody. Like I know, like there maybe is a younger audience listening, and people that are just starting a career, if they ever thought about getting into TV or movies, like I can't think of a better place to start than with you. So what would you
Oh, thank
suggest
you
to
so
somebody?
much.
No, it's
I
true.
would love to. Yeah, no, I'd love to talk about this, because there's something important that happened that you guys should know about me. I did go to film school, by the way, but I came from Jane and Finch in Toronto, which was I was very poor. I was not a wealthy person, and I worked from the age of 13 to save up for film school. It was very, very huge for me to go to university and finish university in my family. And I loved film school, but it didn't really I have this complaint not only about film school. I also went to comedy school after film school. I got a post grad in comedy screenwriting. And both places, once I really learned, once I really got into the industry and saw what you kind of need to know and what is possible to learn, I realized how much was missing from both those programs. Um, and I wanted to create the courses that I wanted to see in the world. But that happened after I experienced something. So once I graduated from film school, I got an award from the Canadian Academy. Sorry, it's called the Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television. And it's the body that gives out, our versions of the Oscars, which is the Canadian Screen Awards. It's the Oscars and the Emmys are sort of combined into the Canadian Screen Awards in Canada. And thankfully, they have these scholarships to encourage it used to be, I don't know how many they give out now. It used to be 10 people a year across the country graduating from film school. So I was very lucky to win one, because I had no contacts in the film business. I was not born into a film family. I had, I was like, seriously, just a kid, kid from Jane and Finch who went to film school in Toronto, and I had no ties to the industry. And in 1991, I won that award, and it allowed me to go onto film sets where the Academy paid my wages to learn. And I got to set, well, I started in the non-union world, but by the time I worked my way up to a union set, which for me took about 3 years, um, the non-union world was a little bit better for this, but once I got into a union set, which is where you make six figures, the film jobs, the film industry has a lot of flaws, but it is still one of the last six-figure union jobs that you can get as a young person. And I got to set in 1993 on my first union set on a show called Tech War, and I was one of the only women. There were women in hair and makeup, and there was me, and there was some wardrobe women on a crew of 250 people. And there were two people of color. So I was in shock. Imagine, like I grew up in one of probably the most diverse neighborhood in Canada, and I get to work as an adult, and I'm surrounded by, no offense to white men, by the way. I have a lot of white men in my programs, but no offense to white men. I was surrounded by older white men. And I thought, what is this? Like, this is not the world. This is not a reflection of the world I know. Why don't more people have access to these jobs? Like, these are fantastic jobs. All the jobs and jobs they didn't teach us about this kind of work in film school. I'm talking about the work that I eventually came to do, which is script supervision. They didn't teach us about assistant directors, property masters. There's so many positions on a film set that earn a great living and are so much fun and so fulfilling. They're really good union jobs. They didn't teach. by the time 1995 came around, I said, that's it. I've got to figure out a way to give people access to this knowledge, the knowledge you need to get these jobs. And I became very intentional about it. I've basically been teaching the Director Whisperer program, versions of it, since 1995. And I like to think it worked, I hope that I helped shape the face of the industry, because we slowly I would do outreach into communities where, like poorer communities where people didn't know, hey, did you know that Toronto's a big center for film production and there are really great jobs? And I would mentor people and bring them on set. In the 90s, we used to be able to bring people on set pretty easily. Some of my students from the 90s actually are directing now. So that makes me happy. But yeah, it became my mission really to, because listen, a lot of these people couldn't even afford to go to film school. So my courses are like the bridge between, like, you don't really need, this is a secret, but you don't really need to go to film school to work in the film business. That's the truth. And
Oh,
you don't,
I just want to
yeah.
interject you because you said that a lot of your film students from then are directors now. But even
Mhm.
now, talk a little bit about the contests you do, and because some of your recent students have been very successful. So maybe
Yeah.
tell a few stories like that.
Well, in terms of the screenwriters, I think I have the most success. I mean, I have the most success stories among my script supervisors if you consider success having a six-figure job that you love. But if you consider success a creative success, like selling something that you wrote, I would say my screenwriters are my most successful body of students, of all the students that I teach in all the different subjects. And I say that because I created, like, when COVID hit, I I basically created a challenge. I wanted to attract more people to my writing programs. And an objection people have a lot is, oh, well, I would take your writing class, but I don't know what to write about. And what they don't realize is, to take the training, you don't actually have to write anything, but it is more fun if you're writing something and learning it along at the same time. As you know, Mary Lear, you're always writing, but you wrote, like, you're like, really, writing comes really easily to you. But a lot of writers have blocks and they get stuck at the content level, like, what the hell do I write about? So um during COVID, I literally I started advertising this 5-day challenge that I hadn't even written yet. I just started advertising it so that I would force myself to write it. And every day I'd make up a new challenge, but I mean, it didn't come out of nowhere. I have a very specific theory about comedy, that great comedy is rooted in trauma. Okay. And I mean, I'm not the only one to have that theory, but I had been thinking about it for years, because we didn't talk about this, but for 8 years I did stand-up comedy. And one of my biggest takeaways was the funniest things to people would be like really the most painful stories in my life. So I took that knowledge and I took my understanding of structure for television and put it into the first challenge I ever did. Was a 5-day personal TV comedy series premise creation challenge. And it was a challenge where every day I'd give you an exercise that you could write for 30 minutes to an hour. And by the Friday, from a Monday to a Friday, by the Friday, you would theoretically have a premise for a TV series that is personal to you and that is funny and marketable. That's the hope. And to my shock and surprise, it actually worked. So the first challenge, I had 73 people sign up. You have the option of pitching your idea on the Saturday, and then I mean, in the first one, I judged myself because I was learning now I hire judges who are my alumni, who are successful alumni. But um, the first one, I judged myself. 20 people showed up to pitch, and then I picked a winner, and the winner gets a free spot in my course. So I do those challenges a couple of times a year. But some people who won those challenges, and even people who didn't, but they came up with an idea in those challenges, 4 TV series have been sold, and one feature, is it one or two? Well, it's two. The same person came up with 2 different features that she sold based on those challenges. And I consider that massive, because especially the 4 TV writers, they were first-time writers. The feature writer was not a first-time writer, but I want to say she had written 3 scripts by then. If you know the averages in the industry, like, every time I work with a writing team, I always ask them, how many scripts did you have to write before you sold one? The most common answer is 9, and then we sold the 10th. That's the most common answer I get, which makes sense because as a stand-up, you write 10 jokes, one is going to be good. One is going to be a keeper. So I'm super proud of that challenge that, and it used to be free. Now it's like pay what you want. Sometimes I charge 47 bucks for it. I'm thinking of just turning it into a book and having maybe an international challenge once a year. Cause I think if I put it into a book and people can just use the material, I then wrote a second challenge for feature film and I sometimes run them simultaneously. Cause feature film structure is different and it has different story needs. So it is a different challenge.
Well, I have to say that it is also an amazing tool for self-discovery. Like that is what you've done. It's incredible, Daniela. So if people want to look at some of the people that have taken it in the past, you've got the YouTube channel so they can check out. Yeah, because it really is something that everybody should do, I think. It's just for self-knowledge, etc. But what you said about the pain points is that is where the best comedy does come from. It's incredible, but true, isn't it? Yeah. So,
Do you want to know something funny? Today, I mean, yesterday, I posted a video on Instagram. It was just me talking to one of my script supervision alumni because we're having a hard time in the film business. And she said, I'm really struggling to find work, which is not usually script supervisors can find work. And I started to say, hang in there, like don't quit the film business. Cause I'm hearing every single day people from all disciplines saying and I started crying, right? And I started crying and saying, don't quit the film business. This is normal. People are homeless right now. Like just started going into it and it was really like sad and heartfelt. And then today I got the funniest comment. One of my friends in the UK said, you know that your post that said don't quit the film business is an advertisement to get the hell away from the film business. Like to quit. And I thought, oh my God, if you look at it through a comedy lens, that's true. And and it just proves the point that your biggest trauma can be really funny. And the reason is because I'm saying, don't quit the film business. People with 20 years experience are homeless. People with 3 years experience are homeless. I was going into all that, not realizing, oh my God, I really yeah, it's
no, but really, the thing about the film business is that you have been in it for so long with so many different facets of it. And so, where would you say that you find the most joy out of all of that, too?
Oh, you're going to think this is weird because you've known me as a writer and you've known me as a script supervisor. My biggest joy has been as an actor.
Oh,
I
excellent.
am I am a member of ACTRA and I hardly ever act. I really hardly ever act. I've been studying acting for 20 years in New York City. I'm a secret closet actor. You can find old stuff of me on TV because I really the script supervision work is all consuming and you could hear they used to have my stand-up set on CBC. I don't think they play it anymore, but people have heard me on the radio. They've seen me in little bit character roles. It's just the most joyful. Talk about self-discovery. But the great thing is everything I all the joy I get as an actor and everything I learned as an actor, I could really put into the courses. Like a lot of what I teach in the writing classes also applies to actors in terms of figuring out your want, need, flaw. That very much applies to acting as well. And once I started taking what I was teaching you guys in the writing programs into my acting program in New York, it all started to come together. It's fantastic.
Well, a lot of people have heard of Joseph Campbell and all the archetypes in that, but with you, I've learned about the 8 archetypes for comedy, etc. But everybody can see themselves in one of the characters. But the big knowledge that I found or took away from your course is how you can jump in, like not even acting, like well, the whole life is an act, I guess. But just you can jump into one or correct a flaw that you have or learn about yourself, like when you look at the big picture through your courses, right?
Well, it's true that it's well, what I started to notice, like I'd work on some big shows and realize, oh my God, the showrunner creator, the main character is them. Like I would notice that
Oh
over
yeah.
and over again. And I won't say how, but the showrunner of Suits, I won't say which character it is. It's not Harvey, actually. I guess you'll know it's Mike. Mike is him, and he told me how Mike is him, and I started to, it just all as it's very natural as writers. We're going to be writing ourselves about ourselves through different characters. And if you're writing a TV series, that's going to take up a whole bunch of your life and energy. So, of course, it's probable that your lead character is going to reflect you, and you've got to really know your own flaw because, especially in comedy, Suits is a dramedy, but especially in comedy, you got to know because that flaw is your comedy gold. So you have to be really self-aware.
Well, actually, we have to wrap up in a few minutes, but if you could come back another time too, and maybe we'll talk about that, because the whole point of uplifting other people, you can do it once you've uplifted yourself. So if you know what your pain points are and get over them, and then or at least being aware, I think is most of the challenge with
Yeah,
life.
because sometimes you can't even sometimes the trauma is too fresh to write about. I've been in that situation where I was undergoing something really extreme and I tried to write about it too quickly. It's too soon. You know that comedy expression, too soon. Sometimes it's too soon.
Okay. Are there any words of wisdom you'd like to leave with us today? And
Well, for all of those thinking about comedy writing, or especially if you don't think you're a comedy writer, you'd be amazed at how many people I've converted to comedy writing who didn't think they were funny. Some of my greatest lessons in comedy that I've learned through all different ways. I'll just give you a couple of them. Um, don't step over the truth to go for a joke. Start with the truth. Comedy is truth, pain, and distance, right? That's what they say. It's true. Start with the truth. You want to have, because therein lies your pain, therein lies the root of your comedy. The jokes, we put those in at the end of a comedy screenplay. So when you're writing a screenplay, make sure you have a well-constructed story with solid characters before you try to make it funny. Don't try to be funny. If you're trying to write comedy, don't try to be funny. That's a very important lesson. You'll learn that at places like Second City as well, and it's absolutely true. And I know there was something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember.
well, how about laughter is the best medicine? So we all need laughter.
Oh,
So you can be a part of
yes.
this world with Danielle Saioni.
We've all, as human beings, we all have pain, and you can heal yourself by through comedy. I firmly believe that, either by watching comedians or by trying comedy yourself.
Okay. So thanks everybody for joining Danielle Saioni and Mary on Mary's Moments today. And we'll see you next week. And Daniela, I really do want to have you back again, okay?
Anytime. That was fun. That went so
Okay.
fast. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thanks, Daniela. Bye, everyone.